You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about how sometimes doing the right thing can have huge consequences. I'm MJ.
And I am at AK Stormageddon.
In our final mission of Mass Effect 2, Shepard goes solo to rescue Dr. Amanda Kenson from a Batarian prison at Admiral Hackett's request. Along the way, we discover Kenson and her project plan to destroy a mass relay, endangering a Batarian colony. Kenson was arrested before they could begin the process. Once Kenson is rescued, she brings us back to the asteroid she planned on throwing at the mass relay so that Shepard could verify the claim that the Reapers were planning an imminent invasion through the Alpha Relay. Once they arrive, they have a little over 2 days until the invasion. When shown the artifact, Shepard realizes that the entire project has been indoctrinated and there is no one to stop the invasion. Shepard is knocked out in a firefight and wakes with 2 hours to spare. They fight their way through to initiate the project, ending over 300,000 lives. Kenson dies in her attempt to stop Shepard. Hackett tells Shepard they'll have to answer for what they've done, but he will do his best to delay any trial.
You did it! You did the thing. Great summary. So, this is the DLC that links the second game to the third game. It came out towards the release of the third game. I don't remember how far before, but a significant amount of time. But it was definitely the last DLC to release.
Yes.
And the sign that we are closing the doors almost, just about anyway, on Mass Effect 2 is the fact that we have 0 check-ins.
Yep.
Nobody to talk to.
Absolutely no one.
Which is kind of sad. It made my PlayStation session feel incomplete. Because I had nothing else to do except click on the map and go to the mission. We never do that.
I know. Usually there's people to talk to, information to gather, emails to read. I fed my fish before I went.
Kelly still got that on lock, so I'm good.
And also, I thought about going to the Shadow Broker base one last time to see if there was anything that popped up, but I decided not to. I just kind of went in and did it.
Yeah, the only things I did outside of the mission was after the mission, I went back to the ship and did any last upgrades and stuff because that stuff affects the next game, so I made sure to do that. But like pre-mission, I didn't have anything additional to do. It just rolled right into saving a prisoner.
Yep, I didn't have any like upgrades that needed to be done or anything like that.
So I guess without further ado, in record speed, we'll get into the details of the mission.
Yes. So, unlike any other mission we've done before, aside from visiting the Normandy crash site, we're doing this one alone. The closest we've gotten before is doing a mission with just Kasumi and no one else. I found it difficult to believe that you wouldn't take one other person with you. Because, like, why would Garrus let me go do this by myself, first of all?
Yeah, and Jack would not want to miss out on an opportunity to bust more heads. So, like...
I find it very unlikely that your love interest is not like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's strange also because usually in other missions where you go alone or the whole team goes, like someone says something about it, right? Mm-hmm. There's a comment to one degree or another, but there wasn't here. You just click on the galaxy map, pick the location. Next thing you know, you're landing in a shuttle, stepping out solo with no one with you. It does seem odd. I mean, the meta answer is probably this was programmed to be an isolated experience so they could get it out quickly. So they didn't want to have to account for multiple companions, their dialogue, how they react, how they interact with the scenes and with the cutscenes. They wanted to streamline it. And narratively, actually, they need to pin it on just Shepard. If anyone else is there, they'd be on trial. And the purpose of this was to lead into the beginning of the third game when Shepard's on Earth for trial. And other folks would have been, like, for example, if Garrus or Jack had come with us, they definitely would have been there with Shepard on trial because they would have felt responsible as well. Whereas if Shepard's alone, then it's just Shepard's problem.
Also, if Shepard's alone, it's really Shepard's word against the action.
Correct.
And there's no one to corroborate her story because Amanda Kenson is dead. Everybody else that was in the project is also dead because they died trying to stop Shepard from leaving. And 300,000 people are also dead.
Yes, but we are getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
We should discuss the mission at hand. Wow, I've never said that before. Usually it's you reining me in.
Well, given the way that this mission progresses, I think it is justifiable for us to jump around just a little bit because, it's pretty straightforward. It's not like there's a whole lot of nooks and crannies to go into.
That's true. There aren't a ton of choices there aren't a ton of major choices. Mm-hmm. Really, there aren't even a ton of exclusively Paragon or Renegade stuff. A lot of it is kind of middle line responses with some Paragon responses.
Yeah, this is kind of the least amount of notes that I've ever taken. It's only 2 pages, and it's just kind of passive thoughts.
Yeah. So the mission starts with us landing at the prison and getting out of the shuttle and trying to break in. And in the process, we overhear Batarians talking about the prisoner, about what they were trying to do, that they were trying to blow up the mass relay with an asteroid. And so, at this point, your instinct is to side with the fellow human and to just be like, all right, Batarians captured a human. Let's get this human back. But that said,
man.
But that said, very early on, based on the conversations, my shepherd is like, wait a minute, did they say blow up a mass relay?
Yeah, as I'm sneaking through this base and I'm eavesdropping on conversations, they're like, yeah, she was going to destroy an entire colony. I'd be like, oh no, that's bad. Maybe I should leave her with you.
Yeah. Hold up. What?
I think that's bad.
It's funny, this playthrough, I had more of those thoughts than the first one. The first one, I was very head down, gotta save the human, screw the Batarians, they suck most of the time, which is not a good way to look at it at all.
Okay, so my feelings about the Batarians is that they are a race of people who believe that slave ownership is integral to their society.
Yeah.
And they believe that they are being oppressed because every other culture who views slave ownership as, bad tells them, hey, you can't do that here.
Yeah.
So I don't really like the hegemony. I can't say it sometimes. I can spell it, but I can't say it sometimes.
It's okay.
It's one of those words that I've only heard out loud a couple of times. As we go through, here's my question for you, my friend. Did you make it to Dr. Kenson without being seen and without killing anyone, except for Varen? Because we can't avoid them.
No, I absolutely just kind of went in guns blazing.
Really?
Yeah. Well, that's not true. I tried to sneak past folks, and the first time I got saw and I got attacked, I fought back. And then from there, I just fought my way through.
Okay. Well, I snuck all the way through to Dr. Kenson.
Wow. Impressive. I didn't even remember you could do that.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to kill anybody.
Well, I did.
You only have to start killing once you pick up Dr. Kenson and she stomps on a guy's face.
That's true.
She's brutal. She's brutal from go.
Yeah, my mind was she's brutal once we figure out the plot twist, but the reality is, no, she's brutal from the start.
And, once you get her, I don't really like this escape. Once I got into the room where she's trying to shut down security, so that way we can escape, I had this moment of oh no, I remember doing this, and I hated it so much. And I hated it still. Because they're coming on either side, and it's just you, because she has to do her hacking thing, and she can't really be helpful.
It was fine. The part that annoyed me is she kept yelling at me to shut the door.
She's very bossy for a person that we just saved.
Yeah, I was like, no, I actually have to get out from behind cover, fight my way to the door, close it, go back, and then I got turned around and couldn't figure out how to get back to where she was. So I was kind of standing in the middle of everything, fighting the rest of the waves until it ended and the bridge came out. And I was like, oh, okay, now I realize where I am.
She's so rude. I hated her the entire time. I was mad that she stomped on that guy's face because that was unnecessary. It's one thing to have to, kill and shoot your way out because, you're doing what you have to survive. That guy was down. You did not need to do that.
Yeah, we had punched him right in the face and knocked him out.
Like, we could have tried to leave peacefully, but you didn't want that.
Yeah, no, clearly not. And then after that, we just have to fight our way to the shuttle. And, like, then on the escape, another really unnecessary thing happens. Like, I get why they did it, but, like, the whole getting in the shuttle while troops are coming, turning the shuttle, and then hitting the afterburner so it fries everybody, like, seemed gratuitous.
I wonder if Kenson did that, or if that was just what the shuttle was doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that once they're in the shuttle, they can't really see where the troops are, and they're just trying to get out of there, and that it was just a side effect, which is possible. But it felt like there was intention to it. I don't know how I can explain, but I
agree with you.
It felt like, oh, we're gonna burn them alive and get out of here.
I completely agree with you.
And so after we escape, then there's a lot of dialogue on the shuttle. We start to ask Kennison about the project and what they were doing and why they were doing it.
We find out that the mass relay that they're talking about connects to every other relay in the galaxy. So if the Reapers come through that relay, they have like an instant access point to everywhere. Yeah. It is their best shot at an immediate invasion. And the original intention of this project was to destroy the Alpha relay, so that way the Reapers could not get through and it would delay the invasion. So the invasion's still coming, but at least then we will have stopped the like worst of it, and then we could start preparing ourselves.
Right, not necessarily stopping the worst of it, but like delaying the impact. Right.
Well, I feel like it would be worse if the Reapers had, like, immediate access to everywhere.
Well, yes. Well, right, but it makes it sound like it wouldn't be as bad without this, when the truth is, it's still going to be as bad. It's just less time till it, like, there would have been less time till it was bad. Now we have some more time before the bad.
Right. And this conversation with Kenson, like, they find out about this, and then they just immediately decide to destroy the relay. Hey, have you guys tried, I don't know, talking to their government and trying to get that colony of Batarians evacuated, since there's 300,000 people who live there?
Yeah, also, like, who greenlit this project that no one's talking about it? Because it's not like Admiral Hackett sent us to investigate the project. He sent us to investigate the disappearance of his friend.
Right.
So where's the intel on this massive project that could kill an entire system's worth of people?
Like, everything about this is so sketchy. And she tells us that the way that she knows is because of a Reaper artifact that they found. And Reaper artifacts are always bad news. They're always bad news.
Always. And, like, Shepard at first is already uneasy, but then, like, is asking more questions. But at the end of the day, Shepard's like, I need to see this for myself. Like, I'm sorry, but I can't sign on board or be in agreement on anything until I see this artifact, because I have no idea what you're talking about, and this could be terrible.
My favorite thing about this conversation, though, is every time Shepard asks a question, they go from leaning back in their seat to leaning forward really hard.
Uh-huh.
Like, they go back and forth for every question, and I'm like, why not just stay leaning forward?
Yeah. Well, I was playing this today after that conversation was wrapping up. The Kenson said, what did she say? She was like, "Oh, just sit back and relax. It'll all be clear once we get to the station." And it inspired me to tweet earlier today. Any NPCs talking to Shepard and telling them to sit back and relax or stay calm. And then for Shepard, I put the gif of Steve Rogers going, "No, I don't think I will." Because Shepard, like, everyone's always telling Shepard to relax. And Shepard's like, "No, I'm not going to relax. Are you kidding? Yeah. Do you know what I've seen?"
Also, speaking of just things being bad news in general, when there's, like, a close-up on Kenson's eyes at some point in this scene, and her eyes are all glowy.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's bad.
That's always bad.
That's always bad. And then when she pages the project and tells them that Shepard is with her, the guy she speaks to says, "Shepard? Really?" That's not a tone I like to hear.
No, that's never a good sign, ever.
And And then Kenson tells him to clean up the lab, and I'm like, that is sketchy as fuck. What are you trying to hide?
Yep.
Oh my god. And then we land, and we find out that there's like 2 days until this horrible invasion.
And, like, Shepard can get a lot done in 2 days, but it's still 2 days. Meanwhile, this whole time we assume that Shepard has not reached out to Joker yet or contacted the Normandy at all, just arrives here. And then there's a lot of walking and talking as Kenson continues to explain the project. And then they walk into the room where the Reaper artifact is, and Shepard is literally like, what the fuck? That's a Reaper artifact out in the middle of the entire station. What is wrong with you?
Yep. First of all, there's a lot of people here. Did you notice that there's just a lot of people?
Yeah, why?
Why are there so many of you? And Object Rho is just sitting out in the open. Like it's cool.
And Shepard doesn't mince words. Like, he freaks out immediately because he knows what these things are capable of. And he's like, and like, of course, at that point, like, Kenson says, don't worry, it'll be okay. It'll explain everything. And Shepard gets the vision of the Reapers arriving through the relay. And, like, Shepard drops to one knee. And, like, immediately Kenson's like, I can't let you actually go through with this project. You know, you can't. The Reapers have to arrive. I have to see them. We're like, oh, okay, great. So they're all indoctrinated.
Yep.
Here
Kenson
we go.
is indoctrinated as fuck.
Yep. And lied pretty well to get us here, but now we have to fight our way out. And what's really interesting about this fight is it's the only fight, I think, in all of Mass Effect that you have to lose eventually.
Yes. In the past, I have lasted the full amount of time in this fight. This time, I got distracted and a flamethrower snuck up on me, so I died. But it was fine because you didn't really die. So I have gone the full time in the past, just not this time. And I don't super care that much because my pride doesn't care.
Right. And we know the meta of it. Yeah, I normally try and last as long as I can. But similarly, like, I don't know, I felt like I was dying more easily on this mission than other missions. It could be because I was alone instead of having cover fire from other squad mates. But, like, I didn't last long at all. And I knew at this point, I was like, I'm going to have to get knocked out, but let me see how long I can last. And I didn't. Maybe a minute and a half.
You get knocked out, but you get up again.
Because they can't keep you down. So yeah, and then of course you wake up in a lab hearing a young woman not being sure if something's wrong with the sedation or there's a glitch in the system, and then quickly realizing as you sit up, oh no, they're just not taking. Shepard's up. Oh my god, ring the alarms, which is an appropriate response to Shepard. Fair enough.
Yeah. When she gets out of the room, she, like, circles around and she puts up some kind of force field and she gets this smug, stupid look on her face. And I'm like, I'm gonna punch you so hard. Yeah. I was so ready to punch her in the face. And I completely forgot that the way you get out of this room is you take control of the mechs in the next room.
Yep, I totally forgot too. And I was like, oh, I get to play as a mech? Awesome.
I get to be a mech. That was a really cool element of this mission. Yeah. Like, it wasn't super useful beyond getting Shepard out, but it was kind of cool to break it up.
Sure, and, like, that's not something you've done in the game yet, and or since. And, you know, the mechs are kind of the punching bags of the Mass Effect universe, but it was fun to take control of one and, like, shoot the other mechs and, like, then have to go blow. And, like, I like that you have to blow up, like, a power converter to break down the force field, and when you do it, no matter how close you are, your mech blows up from the explosion to end the section.
That mech saved our lives.
Heroic mech number 1.
Yep. And I love that someone shouts at some point, we want Shepard alive, and I'm just like, that's your first mistake.
Yeah, pretty much. I also like that because Shepard is programmed to say certain things on the meta level, even when you're alone, he makes comments about the enemy being everywhere or, like, you know, they're coming from the side. And it's like typically meant to be banter between the party members. Seems a little crazy when he or she is by themselves or they.
You know what? I always assumed that was the enemies talking. And I think it is the enemies talking because my Shepard didn't say anything.
Oh, maybe it was then. But I feel like my shepherd was talking to himself at certain points, and it did feel like, buddy, who you talking to?
The log.
What's going on? Shepherd's log. Stardate.
Shepherd's log is probably full of some terrible, terrible things.
Probably.
And also complaining about Joker sometimes.
Definitely complaining about Joker sometimes.
So you fight your way through this station, and you kind of have to just, like, kill off everybody. Every time I saw a flamethrower, I was just like, fuck you, you're going first. Because I was still mad that they're the ones that took me out in the firefight.
Yeah, same. I was very grateful, though, that pretty much 90% of the enemies never had a shield. So, like, every time I saw a flamethrower, I immediately threw a pull or slam or shockwave at them to at least take them out for a few minutes while I worked on everybody else.
Yeah. I had a few enemies with shields.
Same.
Once you fight your way through, you can try to initiate the project. And when you do, the computer tells you exactly how many people are going to die. And it's 304,942.
It's a big number. The biggest number we've been faced with.
It really is. It's so many people that you were, like, deciding the fate of. And then you get an opportunity to either call in the Normandy or ask or try and contact this colony and get them evacuated. But either way, you get interrupted.
Yep, neither choice matters because you're interrupted by Kenson. But I am curious, which did you choose?
Oh, I tried to evacuate the colony.
Same.
Hey, they should have been contacted more than 2 days ago.
Yep.
I'm so angry about this entire thing.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the point from the narrative level, right? You're not supposed to be happy with the lot here.
We're entirely, like, it's entirely out of our control, and our decision is let the Reapers invade now and kill trillions, or sacrifice this colony.
Yeah.
So it's a choice that we don't really get to make and is made for us, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to be the person that has to make that call ever.
No, same. I mean, and I think that's why, again, to speak to the meta a little bit, I feel like the designers and the narrative, the writers, don't give you that choice. They just make it happen and you have to kind of roll with it the best you can because it's a horrible choice to have to make. We've had to make similar-ish choices. I mean, that that Legion mission still is like one of the hardest missions for me to choose. And so, like, this is one of those things where I felt like this time it's so integral to the narrative of 3 that they were like, we're going to take this choice out of their hands and just let them try and make the best of it the best they can.
Kenson interrupts us no matter what, and she's so upset that we have tried to start the project that she is going to shut it down at the core. So now we have to go and stop her. And, like, I hate the station. Everything looks the same. I was very confused. I was like, did I take this elevator where I meant to take it? Where am I? Was I just in this room?
It does all look kind of very much all the same IKEA furniture kind of a room. Like, not actual IKEA furniture, but you know how, like, a lot of IKEA furniture looks similar? Like, all of the tables, all of the chairs, all of the consoles all look the same. So whatever room you're in, like, there's one difference. I can totally see getting confused. But yeah, at this point, we have to stop the meltdown by manually overriding it by inserting the rods to start the cooling process. And we start near the rod A, and we have to make our way to rod B.
Yes. So I don't really have a lot of notes about that progress because it's just take out all the enemies, push the button.
Yeah.
And, like, that was it. And then when we do that, Kenson's, like, still at the core, and she's like, I'm gonna blow it all up!
Yeah.
And, like, you get to her, and you pull your gun on her, and she has a detonator in her hand, and she's upset because she will never see the blessings of the Reapers. And I'm just like, oh, honey, you were so, so indoctrinated.
It is over for you.
Did you take the Renegade trigger?
I did.
I did as well.
Yeah, so here's my rationale, and stick with me a little bit. Remember back when we did Garrus's loyalty mission, and I took out Sidonis? I fired on, or not, I didn't take him out.
You let Garrus.
I let Garrus take out Sidonis.
Right.
Since then, I've been carrying that with me, right? Why did I make that rash decision? Why have I made other rash decisions? And in my brain at this point, the trauma that Shepard's been experiencing is compounding. And when faced with the Reaper threat, which people have been denying up until this point, and now he's stuck with someone who is indoctrinated and won't listen to reason, and he's spoken to folks, and he's tried to reason with people who've been indoctrinated to some degree of success and not. My Shepard was like, I can't do this. There's no time. And took her out because Also, my Shepard doesn't know her. I know Admiral Hackett knows her, but I also know the kind of soldier Admiral Hackett is. And in my brain, the way I rationalize it, like, I need to take the shot. I need to get this thing resolved. We need to be done.
We were running out of time. She's going to blow us up anyway. There's no way I can break through this indoctrination in the very little time that we have. I took the shot.
Yep.
She blows us up anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yep. And we lose like a half hour. And like, so there's only a half hour left by the time we wake up.
And now we have to escape. And I'm so annoyed because in this first part of the escape, there are no enemies to stop us. Yeah. Why? Why do I have to do this?
Yeah. Also, we're also running to the escape pods. You'd think they'd also want to live and would be running to the escape pods. I mean, I guess if they're all indoctrinated as well, then it's not up to them, right? They're staying because of the indoctrination.
Yeah, I'm just annoyed that I had to, like, actually move through this station to get to the shuttle bay. Like, this could have been a cutscene. I didn't need this.
Yeah.
There's no one for me to fight here. There's no point.
Nope.
And then you actually get up there, and then there are enemies. I was like, oh, okay. So that's why I still have to be doing this.
Pretty much. I mean, there were a couple items to pick up and upgrades along the way.
Yeah, I didn't care that much. Like, I'm trying to leave. I'm trying to not die.
Yeah. Of course, once we get topside and out and have put on our space helmet, as we are now out on the open air, or lack thereof, we have to fight more enemies. My favorite thing about being in these areas is one good shockwave sends folks flying off into space, and that's always really satisfying.
That's what I did with Slam.
And so we fight our way to the comms tower in order to finally contact the Normandy so we don't die. But as we're about to reach out, we get to see for the first time, in his glory in hologram form, Harbinger, who has been the enemy, our direct enemy the entire game, and we have a conversation with him.
He looks like a lobster.
Them.
He's a space lobster.
He is a space lobster. And Harbinger pretty much tells you that this is futile. No matter what little things you do, you cannot stop the inevitable. This will delay us some time, but we will still come.
You have become an annoyance. You struggle like dust against cosmic winds. Oh, shut the fuck up.
I love that I've made a Reaper refer to me as an annoyance. I take pride in that.
They're just so, like, self-important. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. You're gigantic. And you, like, lead genocides, but I'm tired of you. Yeah.
And so we argue back with them. Shepard, essentially, no matter what you pick, kind of is just like, we'll fight you till the end. You know, you can't stop us. We will stop this from happening. And then Harbinger, of course, after he's done with you, disappears. He disconnects. And you can now finally reach out to the Normandy and not die.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about cinematic cutscenes, this is another one that's one of my favorites. So the whole time you're on the outside of the asteroid, you can see the mass relay because you're approaching it, and it's, of course, massive. When the Normandy picks you up, they pull up alongside the asteroid, you jump in, and then the cutscene shows the the Normandy hit the mass relay and take off seconds before this asteroid hits it and then hits it and explodes.
Yeah.
And it's just film, like it shows the size of the relay compared to the Normandy directly compared to the asteroid in a really cool way. And then it, after the explosion, cuts out to the galaxy map as Shepard watches on the galaxy map the shockwave happen as planets disappear, and then the shockwave stops.
And the whole, like, what's the word? The whole system goes dark.
Yeah.
That was
and
such a mood.
Yeah. And it was
Shepard watching that.
Well, yeah, it conveys a ton of emotion, and like it was impactful. Like they could have just shown the explosion and then cut to the next cutscene, but to show the galaxy, it displayed on the galaxy map, and show Shepard just hanging over it, still in his gear, hasn't taken anything off, is just standing there watching it happen because they can't control it. It's impactful. Mm-hmm. No pun intended.
Yeah. Well, we committed a war crime.
We sure did.
Hackett comes to check on us. And I think this is the first time that we're seeing Hackett. We didn't see him when he gave us this mission, right?
No. This is the first time you ever see Admiral Hackett in person, or at all. He's only been on audio missions in the first and second game up until this point.
Yeah, so this was like the big dramatic reveal of what Hackett looks like. He's like this scarred older man with piercing blue eyes.
I love Admiral Hackett. He's amazing.
I mean, he's okay. He does very often send Shepard out on missions that he can't be fucked to do himself.
That's true. That's true.
Just like, excuse you, I am not with the Alliance right now. Back off.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite thing about Admiral Hackett is that he's voiced by Lance Herskin, and Herkson, who is a character actor who's been in a million things, and like I love his voice, and I love the acting of Admiral Hackett. As a person and a character in the game, you know, could take him or leave him depending on the day, but I love the way he's portrayed.
He lets us know that the colony was wiped out, nobody got out, the Batarians are out for blood, justifiably.
Yeah.
And this is where things break a little bit, because Hackett's dialogue is under the assumption that you haven't done the suicide mission yet.
Yep.
And he's like, I can hold this off until you run your mission because I know this is very important. And I'm like, I have done it already. I will go back to Earth now because, like, I feel like shit. Please arrest me. I feel really bad.
Please lock me up so I can rest.
I will write them a nice letter.
Yeah.
Please just let me think about what I've done.
Yeah, it's clear that all of the DLC is designed, everything is designed to, for the most part, to be done before the suicide mission, which is a bit of a bummer just because ideally, I think, and that's why you mapped it this way, not just because I think it, but because you think it as well, that they are better to do after because you get a ton more time with Legion and more story with Legion if you do it this way. If you don't do it this way... Also, this was the last piece of DLC to come out. It was unlikely that you weren't going to do the suicide mission first before this. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a little frustrating. I mean, it doesn't break the immersion completely, but it does seem obnoxious.
I mean, honestly, I think Lair of the Shadow Broker and Overlord should be done before you finish, but I think Arrival should be saved until after, and that's why I put it as the very last thing. The only reason we did DLC, like, after the suicide mission was because not everybody downloads the DLC, and I wanted people to be able to enjoy the story of the game. And if they didn't do the DLC, they can, like, skip it if they didn't care about it.
And also, none of the DLC is integral to the main plot except for Arrival.
Right. Whereas in our Season 3, it was so confusing to map that DLC is just littered in there where I thought it was most appropriate. So I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, and you'll just skip those episodes. I mean, we always tell you what we're doing next, so, you know, keep that in mind as we approach that.
Yeah. And that's really it. Like, Hackett tells us that we're going to have to face trial, but he'll do his best to hold it off as long as he can. And he leaves us standing alone in the medbay.
I mean, yeah, I think the other thing that's important to note about Hackett is that he does say, like you say, that you think you did the right thing. And Hackett's like,
yeah.
I'd give you a damn medal if it were up to me, but it's not. And you're going to have to answer for it. Which is why I like Hackett, even though sometimes I can take him or leave him. At the end of the day, he does really, like Anderson, understand how Shepard works and why Shepard does what he does, and rarely questions it because he gets it. He understands what needs to be done and the kind of soldier that Shepard is.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally valid. After this, I needed a snuggle with my boyfriend. So I went back up to my room and I was like, Harris, come snuggle with me. And that was it. And that's where I ended.
Yeah, after this, I had picked up a couple of upgrades on the mission. And so I wanted to make sure I put them through because I think maxing out certain things does affect how you start and how many skill points you start with in the third game. And so I wanted to make sure I did that. I also haven't been spending money. I think there's a ton of stuff I haven't bought, but that said, also the number of credits you have at the end of the game, I think either becomes war assets or becomes money that you start with in the new game. And so I was like, all right, well, if I have extra money, I have extra money, whatever. Yeah, that's the mission. This is the end of Mass Effect 2.
We did it.
We finished the game.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. We completed this game. We will be moving on to the trilogy, although not quite yet. But before we even talk about any of that, we have a fandom corner to engage in.
We do. I have one that's funny and one that's, like, for collectors. What do you want first?
Let's do the fun one first.
Okay, so it's not necessarily fun, but in our current state of affairs, we are dealing with the coronavirus, right? And it's highly recommended that when you're interacting with other people, you wear a mask at this time. And I don't anticipate that changing. We're currently recording on May 4th. May the 4th be with you. And this episode, by the time this episode comes out, I really doubt the desire to wear masks in public is going to change. So there are some personalized Mass Effect masks you can get on Etsy. So if you want to show your Andromeda pride or your Mass Effect pride, there's a couple that you can pick up. Just search Mass Effect masks and you'll find them.
Yeah, and what's great about the Mass Effect one is it's spoofed to look like an NES cartridge, which is kind of neat.
That's one that I found. And then I found one that's like a full-on scene from Andromeda.
Mm-hmm.
I'll drop that. It's not a spoiler for you. It's one of the promotional images. So, like, it's really pretty to wear some mask.
Yeah.
But, hey, if you want some pretty Mass Effect art on your face, that's something that you can do. We got a box of medical grade masks, and I also got a whole bunch from a swimsuit company made of, like, swimsuit material.
Yeah,
but they're washable,
a friend of us was custom making masks, and like if you gave money, you got masks, and then the rest of the money went towards donating to make more masks for medical professionals. So I am well equipped. But yeah, I mean, this episode won't air probably for another month, but I am not convinced we'll be on the other side of this yet. Then, so
yeah, no. And then the thing for collectors, this Etsy seller Lacuna T, LACUNATEA. They have a bunch of Mass Effect flags, as well as an N7 logo enamel pin, and a mass relay necklace, which I am very interested in.
It's very pretty, and like the relay is detailed, and if you click on the images, the relay spins. So like
So it's like a little turquoise in the center, and it's on a gyro.
Yep, and the relay spins, so you can spin the relay as it would spin in space. It's cute. It's really neat.
I don't love the chain, but I love the pendant, so I might just...
Yeah, but I'm sure you could put it on a different chain.
Yeah, that's probably what I would do. But yeah, so if you would like to wear a Mass Effect mass relay on your neck, that is Lacuna T on Etsy.
Yep, and we will, of course, link these in our show notes.
As we always do. Yeah, that's it for Fandom Corner.
Onward then.
So we got 3 emails from a listener that goes by Good Old Gamer. Thank you so much for reaching out to us. Your emails were a joy to read. They make us very happy. They were on the wordy side, so I cherry-picked the things that I thought we could at least reflect on and answer. So, again, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it. It makes my day when I see that we have emails.
And just so you know, even if we don't read your whole email on the show, both MJ and I read every single email we get. So please don't hesitate to reach out that way. We love interacting in real time on Discord, but if you can't do Discord, emails are great. We absolutely read them.
Okay. Greetings, Earth Clan. I hope this message finds my favorite Marshmallow Matt and Rebel Badass MJ. He knows us so well. She pulls more Renegades so far. Well, you've reignited my love for Mass Effect in a way I haven't felt for a long time. This will probably be a long transmission, so if you decide to read any of this on the pod, feel free to hit whatever relevant highlights. Thank you, I did. While writing this, I'm currently listening to your 2.15 episode about Jacob's loyalty mission, but I'll probably be fully caught up soon. I played through the whole original series, but I've only begun Andromeda before my PC died. I'll get to it eventually. MJ's sincere love for it gives me hope. Yes, it's so good. It makes me curious when I hear you guys have difficulty in combat on the story/easy mode. I've always played veteran, one step above normal, and other than the more intense encounters, I found most combat to be fairly ho-hum and routine. One reason I'm so keen on a power squad is for the variety and chaos it creates to change things up. Okay, bud, we are bad at shooting games.
Well, for the record, I do want to say I'm not playing on story. I'm playing on normal.
Oh,
MJ
you're playing on normal? I'm playing on story. Yeah, so like I'm bad at shooting games. I know this.
And I play on normal, and I think I get too gung-ho most of the time. I'm not playing a defensive class. I'm playing the Vanguard, so I do get clobbered a lot. Usually I play classes. Well, actually, I usually play the Vanguard, but I think I'm just rushing in too much because I have a charge. What else do you do with a charge? Anyway.
There's probably a ton more I'd like to share my thoughts on, but this is long enough for now. I love your pod and hope you keep it going past Mass Effect. I know you don't like Dragon Age Origins much, but it would be neat to discuss different origin choices and whatnot. Or KOTOR or the Old Republic MMO would have a lot of BioWare story choices content too. I haven't played DA2 or Inquisition. I have, and I have opinions. I'd give you a 10 out of 5 stars review, but I don't have Apple Podcasts or Facebook. But you're 10s to me. I appreciate that so much.
Yes, thank you.
Keep up the good work, Earth Clan. Good old gamer.
I love that he refers to us as Earth Clan.
Yes,
it makes me very happy.
Well, apparently, good old gamer is a Volus.
Obviously, I mean I
love the Volus.
Me too. I'm glad that a Volus likes the podcast. We try and be kind to our Volus friends.
There was a PS. It was about Liara, and it was lengthy, so I'm going to skip to the PPS, since this is a thing now. It would be interesting if you had an episode about playing an opposite run and what it's like. MJ playing male Shep, romancing Ashley, for example, or Matt playing femme Shep, romancing Jacob. Playing a class opposite of your playstyle, maybe trying Renegade. Whether you actually played out a full run or not, or just sharing your thoughts on it would be cool. Could you do it? Have you?
Well, in answer to those questions, yes and yes, I could do it, and I have done it, just not recently.
Yeah, like it's been a while. I have done a full Renegade playthrough. I hated every single second of it, but I have done it. And I don't know how I would feel about trying to do it now. I don't know if I'd be able to do it now, like emotionally, doing it the way we do this.
Yeah.
And like picking everything apart the way we do. I think it would make me feel like a really bad person most of the time.
That's probably true. I feel like, so just because it did come up in this email, I feel like it's fair to talk about. MJ and I have talked about diving into the Dragon Age series, as our Normandy FM brethren have after this. And it's not off the table. We've considered it. But one of the difficulties is, for me, on PC, BioWare games are not great on PC, as we've discussed, and there is literally nowhere you can get the Mass Effect trilogy or Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2 anywhere but older consoles if you still have them, which I do not. So it is a consideration. KOTOR is even harder because those are older games, and the Old Republic MMO wouldn't run on any of the computers MJ has right now. So like we had conversations about this, and we're not against it, but we'll see. The definite goal is to get through the Mass Effect trilogy and Andromeda, and then after that we will reassess. We've discussed many different games, even like Skyrim or some of the Fallout games. Like Assassin's
Creed,
like none of these are off the table. The idea behind this podcast is for it to be give us the opportunity to fill someone's shoes and discuss in-depth choices. So that said, there's nothing ruling out maybe in the future doing a one-shot episode about an RPG we liked that didn't have a lot of choices. Maybe
that's a possibility.
It's a possibility. Again, the plan right now is the Mass Effect trilogy and Andromeda. Once we get beyond that in the next 2 to 3 years, we will assess other stuff. But I'm glad you brought it up, and we are considering it. But it will really determine the accessibility of those games when we get to that point. But thank you. We appreciate it.
Origins and Dragon Age 2 would be really easy for me to break down into episodes, while Inquisition would be really difficult.
Right, which seems to be the pattern at this point. I've been loving what Normandy FM has been doing with those games. I'm excited to eventually be on their Inquisition episode. It's locked in stone now. I've said it on air. They promised. But yeah, like I also, and as you commented, GOG, I hated the first Dragon Age, and I wasn't fond of the second one either. But again, I went into them thinking they were fantasy Mass Effect, which they definitely were not. And I disliked Inquisition for the same reason, but as I've said on previous episodes, I'm replaying Inquisition now, and I'm enjoying it now that I understand how it works. And so I'm not against doing that. But again, it's way down the road. We take our time with these games. We are really dissecting them, and so when we get to that point, honestly, we'll probably ask for more listener feedback, because I would love to know if there are things y'all want us to play too. If there's a game outside the BioWare verse that you think would be a really good fit that maybe we don't know about, yeah, of course we'd consider that. So the plan is to do this as long as we can until we die of old age, which hopefully won't be for a while. So,
and then we will pass the podcast on to people that we choose.
Right, because neither of us are having kids, so...
Yes, that's true. Well, I don't know if that's true for you, but it's true for me.
It is true for me, at least as far as I know now. So, but anyway, all of that said, thank you for your email, Good Old Gamer. Please continue to write us as you go through your adventures through our show. And if you end up buying any merch or something, send us a photo if you don't mind being on the internet. We love to highlight our listeners if they pick up any of our cool stuff. So yeah, thank you.
Someone bought a tank top.
I know.
I don't know who, but someone did.
We should bring that up. So the Reignite email address gets, whenever someone purchases something from Redbubble, we get a notification, but doesn't tell us who, because of course not. You don't want sellers creeping on you, and I get that. However, no one has said anything. So if you are listening to this now and you're the owner of that Reignite tank top, please take a photo if you are not photo shy and send it to us so we can share it with the world.
Or if you are photo shy, just tweet that you did buy it.
Yeah.
So that we could be like, thank you. We love you.
Yes, that too.
Also, we had a couple of bingo winners, and I owe them stickers. I did not get to the post office today. I will take care of that this week. So.
Yep. And keep playing along with bingo. You know, why not? That's why we have the bingo card. I'm sure we'll make new ones as we go.
Maybe. I'll think about it.
Well, yeah,
it was
it's not
hard
going to
enough
be
picking that one.
That's fair. Actually, I'll say this too while we're talking about the stuff we make and the stuff we put out. If there's merch that you want, if there's something we don't offer on Redbubble that you're like, I would buy this thing if it existed, tell us. We'll see if we can get it made. Also, we shouted out at the end of the show, but big shout out to Certain POV's merch store as well. Case has designed a ton of really cool t-shirts there as well. So, and all of that money, like the money for Reignite, goes right back into the network, right back into the shows to make them better. So, yeah.
I have the Shepherd's N7 V-neck that I convinced Case to make, and it is fantastic, and I love it. So, highly recommend.
Excellent.
That's everything, right?
Yep, I guess we can wrap up.
All right. Our next episode is going to be a postmortem on Mass Effect 2 as a whole. We've picked it apart. We've dissected it as much as we can, but now it's time to look at it as one big picture. So join us next week, or not next week, in 2 weeks, as we talk about it as one entity.
Yeah, we want to do like we did in the first season, really look at the game as a whole, and our biggest opportunity to step outside the narrative. We tend to stay pretty close to exploring the narrative in the game, but these episodes are our attempt to look at the glitches, look at the problems, look at why this game may or may not hold up. Before this replay, it was in my top 5 games of all time. I'm not saying it's not now, but I'm just saying that kind of thing is worth exploring now that we've dissected it on this level.
If you like what you heard here, follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram, facebook.com/reignitepod, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. It helps us get seen so other people can find us.
Yep, those things are more vital than anything else. The conversation continues to grow as we bring more folks into the fold, so please do that, and thank you. We are also members of the Certain Point of View Network. Visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server on the website as well, so you can join in the conversation. I'm filled with pride that our channel is one of the most active channels on the server. It's shifting as we get more members, but I love our community. Honestly, we have the best listeners in the world. I don't care about other podcasts, and I'm on a bunch of other podcasts. We have the greatest listeners in the world. We love all of you. Thank you for being as interactive and engaging as you are. certainpov.com. You can find a ton of great stuff there.
Fun and Games is gaining on us with the interactivity, and I might steal Jeff's question of the day thing.
Then it splits the conversation because it's a general gaming question of the day. I feel like if you do a question of the day, it has to be Mass Effect focused.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Then yeah. I don't see why not. To be fair, Jeff and I stole that from another server we used to be on. So
I know, I do it for my writing server.
Nice.
I do a question of the day for the writing server, so it forces people to do world building or character building.
Yeah, no, it's been a really great help. It was all Jeff's idea, and I'm glad that we've had some really great conversations as a result.
As we mentioned, we do some other things. I host a podcast called The Circle of Friendship, which is about Tamara Pierce, magic, and Briar Moss. I also do a podcast called The Rob Thomas No Not That One Robcast, where we discuss the works of Rob Thomas. No, not that one.
Both of which can also be found on Certain POV. I do some podcasts as well. I do Screen Snark and Fun and Games, which are both on the network. I also do Crash Chords Autographs, which is an interview series that is my longest running podcast that's still running. I interview a ton of great folks. As of when this airs, I'll have just interviewed the Mind Noodler, Matt Donnelly. He's a magician and fake psychic, fake in finger quotes. So yeah, check out those interviews. They're really great. And then I stream as well. I've been streaming on Twitch for a while now. I have over 150 followers, which is nothing to sneeze at, but not a huge amount either. But I love my community. Currently playing the Alan Wake games, which I'd never played before. That's twitch.tv/DJ_Stormageddon. Feel free to give me a follow and check that out as well.
Oh, hey, that reminds me. I started streaming. I forgot that I do that now.
You do that now on Mixer because you do it through your Xbox.
Yes, I stream on Mixer. It's mixer.com/iHoardLibrarians. Come check me out. I'm usually streaming Dragon Age or Mass Effect, so you can follow me and that'll be fine. And I also want to shout out one other thing that I do. I don't talk about it that often, but my co-host of the Robcast, Alex, he's on a podcast called Minds at Yerk. I've talked about it in the past because they do an Animorph reread podcast. On their off weeks, they're starting to do something called Alternamorphs, which is a tabletop RPG variation of the Animorph books. So Alex is our GM, and he is pretty much running a game for us where we play each of the characters of Animorphs, and we try and figure out what we would have done in the situation instead of what the characters do. And he's trying to guide us through the story, hitting the main story beats, but things have gone off the rails. I play Tobias, which should surprise no one whatsoever. And it's hilarious. It's a lot of fun. If you like aliens, if you liked Animorphs when you were a kid, please check it out. That's on the Minds at Yerk feed. Okay, now that I'm done plugging that. Thank you to Red Spanx for our It's Okay to Be a Marshmallow t-shirt on Redbubble featuring our favorite marshmallow, Caden Malenko. You can find more of their work at Chaos Does Art on Instagram. We'd also like to thank Case Aiken for developing more amazing shirt designs that you can find through certainpov.com or on Teespring. We'd like to thank David Boyle for designing our logo, which you can also get on a shirt through Redbubble. Finally, thank you to Dan Bull for letting us use the Mass Effect rap for our theme music. I'm MJ.
And I'm Matt, aka Stormageddon. We should go.
You're listening to Reignite. I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite podcast on the Citadel.
Hello, you wonderful human being. How do I know you're a wonderful human being? Well, if you're hearing this message, it means you're listening to a certain POV podcast, and that makes you awesome. Thanks for your support. This is Pat Edwards from the Let's Rewatch podcast, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm an author. My latest project is a new 5th edition D&D campaign book called The Red Opera. Inspired from the musical album and stage show of the same name, The Red Opera sends you on a twisting saga through dark and dangerous city teeming with intrigue, magic, death, and betrayal. And warlocks. This book is lousy with warlocks and all the mischief that comes with them. So here's what I need from you, you delightful slice of podcast listener cake. Go to the pre-launch page on Kickstarter and simply enter your email to follow the project. You're not committing to anything. You're just saying you'd like an email notification when the Kickstarter goes live, and then you can browse the truly outstanding reward tiers we've added to decide if you'd like to support the project. To find the pre-launch page, you can either go to theredopera.com, or if you go to my Twitter handle @ThePatEdwards, my current pinned tweet has a link. Again, thank you so much, you beautiful spoonful of human sugar. Love, Pat.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.